Yeah, Haley, if you want to, you can do. If you want to, show them what the a GitHub repo link looks like. Just like your username slash repository name.
Okay. All right, can everybody see?
Wait a couple of seconds because we need to get everybody in here.
Okay.
Woo, Haley's first walkthrough.
Not a big deal, okay?
Hey.
It is a big deal. What do you mean?
Hey, should we already have our GitHub submitted on Covalence for the lab?
No, but if you haven't done that yet, now is the time.
Yeah, I'm about to show y'all. So basically at the top, you're just gonna go to your review and then go to your repository and just copy that and put it in. Once you click that, just copy and paste it into your submit. I'm under the admin right now, so I can't submit anything. But you're just gonna take the URL from the top of your repo. Could you also just use this right here?
Yeah.
Josh, you can also just go to here and click the copy button and then submit it that way.
So it wouldn't make a difference if it has .git at the end of it or not, because it doesn't in the browser window, but it does there.
I always just use this little copy right here, and it's the same thing.
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Cool.
It's just easier because you can just click that button. So did everybody have fun making the Tic Tac Toe board?
I guess. Oh, did you hit the connect Discord button? That's what you hit first, right?
What are you talking about?
On the Tic Tac Toe board game on the Covalence.
Now go to review under.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll just have your lab up and there's a button at the top and you'll click that and then you'll copy and paste your repo link into there.
I think it says submit for review before you review it. This is hers is pink because she's already.
It's an admin. I've already submitted it, yeah.
See.
Okay, Josh, are we ready to start?
You're good, dude. Go for it.
Okay, cool.
Hey, can you guys mute yourself? Make sure you keep your camera on, though. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I'm just gonna have the instructions on the left side. For the first part, they just want you to create your folder. I'm just gonna label mine Tic Tac Toe walkthrough. And then make sure you're in that folder. And then you're going to open that up in your VS Code. All right, so yeah, so basically this lab is going to teach you, it's really important because it not only teaches you some really great HTML fundamentals and CSS fundamentals, but it really gets you to start thinking about your projects like a programmer, and how each element of your project can be broken down into smaller pieces that will work together to create a bigger picture or a final component. So basically the first thing that you want to do is get your project going, and then you're going to create your index. Let me just pull this up to the side. There we go. Okay, so it asks you to build an index.html. Okay, and then we're gonna have our style sheet. So styles.css. Okay, and then, well, there it goes. It's like a while. Okay, and then just like any other HTML with our image abbreviation, you just get the boilerplate with your exclamation point. And then we're going to link our style sheet. So you do that in your header or up in the head. You can label this Tic Tac Toe board. And then link your style sheet. And if anyone has any questions while I'm going, just chime in, please, because I'll pause and, you know, whatever. Okay, so we have our styles.css. Okay, so that's up and running, and now we can open with live server, and that will, since both our HTML and CSS are connected, you have your title up here, but nothing is on the in your body yet, so nothing's going to appear. Okay, so the next thing it asks you to do, now that we have everything linked up, so that's what I was talking about at the beginning, where it kind of asks you to think about the board before you build it. You're going to want to build, there's 9 possible squares. So think about where the X and the O are going to go. Think about the layout. So create a div with an ID of board. This will be the container for our board game. Sorry, somebody's. Okay, so in order to do that, we can use our Emmet abbreviation, which is div with the ID of board, and that'll give you your board. And then inside of that, it's going to ask you to add an H1 into the board with the title of Tic Tac Toe. So, and then okay, and then it's asking us to is the screen okay? Can y'all see everything okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Could you explain why you use the ID board?
So the ID of board is just basically what you are naming it so that you can reference it in your CSS. So you can name it anything, but since that is the component, that div is what holds the entire Tic Tac Toe board, they just recommended you name it board so that you know that's what's that is what identifies the board. So nested in the board, we want to do 3 more divs and give them a row class of row. So inside of this, we're going to do our emmet. So you can just do div times 3, and that gives you 3 divs. And inside that div, you want to give them each a class of row. Okay, so essentially, okay. So within each div, add a class of row, the 3 divs of each row for 9 total. This will be our squares where the players can place the X or the O. So Each one of these divs is in the row is going to hold your cell where each X and O is going to be able to go. For the first, let's see, for the first div in the row, add a class for top and left. Your div should look like this: div class top left. So sorry, lost my place. Okay. So inside of this div, it wants you to add your top. So on this row, this is going to hold all of your divs for the top. So top left, top center, top right. Okay. Then we're just going to do that for each row. Okay, and then the last one's going to be our bottom. Everybody following along so far? Any questions about why each one contains what? Right. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and format my document, make sure everything looks nice and everything. So these little lines kind of guide you and show you. So this ID of board, this div holds all of my rows. All of my rows hold all of these divs for each row inside the div. So basically the spaces on those, when I was creating the classes inside the rows, you'd want to use the space makes two classes, so you can target them independently in your CSS style sheet. So it's asking that you put a top and a left, a top and a center, so that later on it just cuts down on the amount of things that you need to target in your CSS. So that's basically the entire HTML portion of the lab. Is everybody okay with everything so far? Any questions? Okay, cool. All right, well then I'm going to move on to the CSS portion. Okay, so on this part, it says this is the styling of the game board. We don't have anything except for the header so far, so that's the only thing that's going to show up the H1. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my console so that we can kind of get, if we need to reference that. So the only thing that we can see is our H1, and that shows up right there as our title of our board. So the first thing it wants us to do in our CSS for the board is to add a 3M worth of padding to the top of the board div and center align the text. So to target our ID of board, we do hashtag board. And then inside of that, they want us to do padding of, what was it, 3M? And then it also wants us to text the line center. Okay, so let's talk about the padding. So the padding is what is going to push the entire board down, and the align center is going to make everything centered. So that's going to put everything in the middle of our page. Does that make sense? All right, the next thing that we're going to do is says float left all of the divs nested inside the rows. Also add a height and the width of 100 pixels. So for this one, we want to target anything with the row, with the class of row, and apply the styling to all the divs inside of that row. So to do this, we use a child combinator with an angle bracket selector. So basically, we do that by targeting the class of row and then grab all of the divs inside of that row. So this is what that is, that combinator. It's like a multiple selector. So it's just taking everything that's inside of that class and targeting it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is float left, float everything left. And float pushes all of the divs to the left. So, and then it wants us to give it a height of 100 pixels and a width of 100 pixels. So that's targeting every single div in that row and giving it that cell. So 100 by 100. That was it. And if we hover, if we inspect now, we can see that everything has 100 by 100. Each div, 1, 2, 3, has 100 by 100. And you can even just throw like a border on there. So you could do like border pixel solid black, and that way you could see all of your rows. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is add a clear fix to all of the rows. Let's see. So we're going to do that by targeting each class row. And we're going to do clear. What else does it say? So we're doing this. So basically, it's asking you to, okay, so the clear both, that is asking you, it's asking the CSS to look at both sides of each row and say stop floating and drop to the next line. That's what that clear both is doing. So basically that's telling it to wrap after each row, 1, 2, and 3. So that's kind of what makes everything stack into your board. Okay. And then the next thing, place. Okay, so center the set and set the width of the rows. So you can add a margin of 0, auto. And then a width of 302 pixels. All right. So basically that is going to make everything center. And then, sorry, I just need to pull this up side by side so that way you guys can see what I'm doing as I would do it. Okay, I'm just going to take this border off. Okay. margin, clear both. Okay, the next thing. And then center align, did we? Sorry, I lost my place, y'all, my bad. Okay, center with the set of rows, 302. So basically, the reason that they're asking you to do the 302 pixels is because each of the divs is 100 pixels, and then you have to, you also have to add the 2 pixels for each border, which we're about to add to each one of the divs that makes the cells in each row. So the next thing that we're going to do is asking us to create a class selector in your CSS for the top, bottom, left, and right, and add the appropriate border to each class. So we want to do asking us to do a border one pixel solid black. And I'm just going to add a background color so you guys can see what this is affecting as I do it. So let's just do like, so that's gonna take care of all of the top rows, 1, 2, 3. The next thing it asks you to do is add it to the bottom. So and
Hey
then,
Haley,
hey, what's up?
I was gonna let you know that in that thing, we need to put the border for the top section to border bottom, so that way the border is on the bottom side
Oh,
of the
I'm sorry.
cell.
Thank you so much. I read the wrong line. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're good.
You're absolutely right. I was reading for the bottom, not the top. Okay, so border bottom. There we go. Now that line should be on the bottom. Thank you so much. I thought it looked a little funky. Okay, so the next one is going to be your border top, because that's going to be the bottom and give you that top line. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just give that a background color so you guys can see which one it affects. And it's just kind of learn. I'm a visual learner, so it helps me. So I think it just, when I see it pop up, it just helps me learn where it's going. Okay, so that's going to do all the bottom ones. Okay, the next they want us to target all the right and do the same thing. So I'm sorry, this one's going to be the left. We'll do the left first. And then the lefts, you're going to target all of the border rights on the lefts. Up so y'all can see it better. Okay, and then that's going to target all of these. And the last one that it asks you to do is your right. And then for the rights, you want to target border left. And then and that's going to target all of these. Okay, and that's basically it. So, and then it's saying, yeah, you can change each border color, or you can change the background color just to kind of give you a better visual representation of where each cell is going to be. Each cell is 100 by 100. Oh, and then it also asks you to change the cursor pointer. So the reason that it's asking you to do this, so if you want it to target each row, let's see, so add a style and change the cursor to pointer whenever a cell is moused over. So if you want it to change to a pointer every time it's over one of your divs, then you want to target each div in the row. So you can put it in all of your divs like this. So right here, this cursor, pointer, and then that's going to make it so anytime. There we go. So anytime you mouse over, it changes it to a pointer. And the reason that they want you to do that is because that helps the user know in the future what part of the board is interactive. So this is something that I can do. Eventually it'll be like, oh, I can do something this way, like place an X, place an L. So basically that's it. I mean, if y'all have any questions, this was kind of a pretty straightforward lab, but you can kind of play around with it and like mess with your CSS and, you know, put different attributes on there just to kind of see and make sure everything makes sense. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
I've got 2 questions.
Sure.
One, what's determining what overrides the background color you have? So you have the top row as whatever coral or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, so like that
And then-
pink.
Right.
Mhm.
And then but then the purple overrides that and the light blue
Right.
overrides
So
that.
this is only targeting top. So if we look at our HTML, it's only going to target anything that has the class top in it. I think you're asking why doesn't it do it for all of the tops? Because now we have
Yeah,
background color.
what's determining the override of the blue and the purple over that coral or
It's the
whatever?
one that comes last. So
Okay.
2 conflicting styles that don't have a rule that tells it which one is better. It's just whichever one came last.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, I was confused on what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm not the best at
No,
getting my
no,
thoughts in
you're
my
good.
head out,
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
verbalizing my brain. But second would be the clear.
Yeah.
Clear both. A little more
So-
explanation of that, I guess, would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So basically how I understand it is when you're doing the clear, so basically we have this float left. So that if you take this off, let's see, that makes everything kind of stack to the left.
To what now?
Here, we'll take that off. So that float left makes everything float to the left. So when you're doing when you're applying that clear to both, that just makes the CSS look at both sides of your row and say stop floating after the row ends and drop to the next line. Does that make more sense? So
No, not really.
okay. Josh, do you have a better way of explaining it?
I don't know, maybe. So, I mean, when you float something so you're putting all the divs inside the rows, telling them to float left. So
Right.
that means you're essentially telling that element, go as far left as you can within your container element. Then you're putting on the row out, that's its parent element. You're saying to clear both. That allows, or that disallows anything from floating beside it. So all those divs want to sit right beside each other, but because you have clear on the rows, that disallows something from floating beside it. So it's forced to go to a new line.
Yeah, it's looking at both sides of the row and not allowing anything to stack beside it.
Right. You can kind of think of it like display inline, and then when you're putting that on the row, you're kind of saying like something can't be beside it.
So yeah, and then like in the future, like on it, yeah, it's kind of
Turner's like, that did not help. You got to play with it a little bit, man.
yeah.
Why does it only do 3 rows?
That's just how many cells there are. That's how many divs there are to put.
Because yeah,
Good point.
there's
Okay.
only 3 divs in each row. So once it
Gotcha.
ends that row after the clear, it wraps to the next row.
Yeah, right. Because all those divs on the inside, those want to act like full divs where they take up the full width of the line. But you float them left, that kind of cancels out that full line behavior and makes them just shove as far left as they can go. Now that's not putting them to the left of the screen because she has text align center and the margin auto on it. So that's as far left as it can go within its container, which is the row.
Yeah, and then in the future, y'all can like start messing around. Like you can add, like essentially this is gonna be your board for the games, right? So you could say, hey, this is where I want my X to go. And then you'll, well, in your div.
I think I'm understanding what you were talking about with the clear fix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. So instead of it going like all the way across without the clear fix, whenever you put the clear fix on, it does for each row instead of going all the way across. It just kind of stacks on top of each other for each row.
Right.
So we could have one in each row and it would just stack.
It'd be like
Right.
a column. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so essentially we're just like building a way that you can create a game. But yeah, it just makes everything flow into each row because it won't let anything stack beside if you clear it on each side. But yeah, that is all.
Abigail had another question actually too, Haley. The
Okay, sure.
why the margin 0 auto, and then why you don't need a 0 in this case.
I'm not 100% sure on that. We can like look up margin.
I think the browser will automatically calculate what it needs to scale it to if you set it to auto without any numbers.
Because in CSS, like the first, what is it? The first, it's usually two things. It's usually one number and a second number. And the first one is your top and bottom, right? What is it?
Mhm.
And then
First one's top and bottom, second one's left and right. You can
Left and
do
right.
all four.
And so
But if you
just
do
have
auto,
right,
it
then you
does
don't
all
need-
of them.
then you don't need that 0 because the auto is just kind of like
Auto
encompasses.
is basically equal to 0,
Exactly.
kind of, unless you set the thing otherwise.
In this case, a div is only as tall as what's inside of it. So setting the height to 0 and not setting it, there's no margin for it to use anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of pointless. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the future though, you could have like, where is it? Auto, you would have like a 2M and 0. So that would be 2M, top and bottom, 0, left and right. So, but for this one, we just use auto because it's just filling the div.
Does that mean that
If you-
margin?
Oh, go ahead, sir.
Okay, yeah, just real quick. Does that mean that like auto is functionally the same as all zeros?
No, that's
No.
actually what I was about to say. You can put margin like 2M and then put margin auto, but that would set all four corners to 2M.
Right. Yeah. So you could do 2M auto and that would set everything to 2M. But since 0 is kind of redundant because if it's just assumed already 0. Does that make sense?
What's keeping it centered?
It's automatically distributing the margin on the left and right, like Hunter was saying. So if you set it to auto, its default behavior is just automatically split it between the left and right.
To center it, basically. In
Yeah.
whatever browser you're in. Okay.
In effect, that's going to center it, right?
Gotcha.
These are good questions, guys.
I have a question too. The class for the CSS is top, dot bottom, dot left, and dot right. This is the part that really confused me when I was doing it and trying to play around with it myself, is because there's no specific class in the HTML that just says top, bottom, left, or right. They all have words after them. And I did not know that it worked that way. Like, why can you write dot top and then it automatically knows that, even though you don't have a class that just says top?
Okay, so we did, that's what, so when we made this class, we did 2 separate classes. So this is an independent class top, this is an independent class top or left. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
So we made 2 classes in each row. So this is a class top, this is top, class left. So we did that. This is where the 2 separate classes make sense to use because it just cuts down on the number of selectors that you have to have in CSS. So here you're just targeting all the tops, and that's going to take care of all 3 of these rows because they all have top.
Would that work with any other words in classes? Because you get to name the classes yourself, right? So if it began with a word and you had several of those words, as long as the first word is the same, you can do that?
Yeah, so this could be, anything, but they're all top left. So if you wanted to do just this div right here, you would do top left. Like you
Right.
just, so it would be top left like that. Right?
Yeah.
And then, but since we just want all of the tops in that row, we're just doing the top because they're two independent classes. It just cuts, like the reason that we made two selectors in each is just to cut down the number of CSS that you have to target, because you'd have to do top left, top middle, top right, bottom left, bottom middle, bottom right, and it would be like 9 selectors, whereas this one only needs 4.
I understand. I didn't know that that was possible. I didn't know you could only use the first word of a class and make it target everything.
Yeah, a space between them indicates those are 2 different class names that you can address that element by.
Okay.
And you can have,
I
I don't know what the limit is, but you can have lots of class names per element.
I had a question with having 3 different parent divs with 3 divs in each of those. I was playing around with mine and I removed the second and third div, and I just had 1 div with 9 elements in it, and it worked fine. So is there any specific reason we have 3 different parent divs with 3 of each in them instead of just 1 with 9?
Probably
You're talking
2.
about
I would have
Those are-
removed, like on yours, I would have removed line 19 and 20 and then 24 and 25. And just kept the first one.
Oh, so basically he's got 1 row and he doesn't have 3 rows. It's just
I
one
see.
solid
It's
row.
one row that holds all of your divs like this.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
did it because the HTML looked cleaner that way and I noticed it was still working.
I think, I mean, a lot of
Or-
this is for instruction, they're trying to show you how to use
Right.
floats and stuff. I think you would have to do, didn't you have to do something different for the clearing then?
Yeah, for all of that, what I did, are you talking about like doing the borders? Oh, for the clearing, no, I
right.
just had to add clearing to, I can actually check right now. Add it to, the dot rows and the, I had to add it to the original like dot row and then, greater than sign div, and then I also had to add it to like the dot row section of my CSS. I couldn't just put it in just one of them.
I got you. I'm gonna take a look at it, but yeah, they're just trying to expose you to like clearing and stuff like that.
Okay.
Loading
I
and
don't
clearing.
think that changed anything if I just made it all in that one row, because you're still targeting the class row here. So it didn't really.
So I can probably just remove it off the top one.
Yeah, it didn't change anything in mine, so.
Yeah, I was just making sure because that's how I did mine when I realized I could get rid of those, and I just kind of kept it that way when I turned it in.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think that should be working like that, but I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
I don't know. I mean, not really.
Well, I wonder if it's going to affect anything as far as once you get into the JavaScript aspect of it as well. And I mean, you'll definitely probably have to change up some of the way that you go about it. I'm interested to see how this works, and 2, how it.
Because this div
That'll work.
is now this row is holding all of our divs. So it's still targeting the rows. I don't know.
There's only
didn't
one
seem
row.
It didn't seem to change anything though. Maybe because it's only putting that clear auto on that first one. And so it makes it right. I don't know. I don't know why it's
Well, you're
working.
still setting the width to 302.
Yeah,
So with the clear, it should keep dropping them down, right?
right. It still works.
Oh yeah, I just double checked. I only have mine pretty much identical to the way yours is set up in your styles.css.
With the dot row.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because essentially you can have 3 rows that hold 3 divs. But you're saying you just had the one row that held all of your divs. So it's the same CSS essentially. So yeah. All right, guys. Well,
Are we supposed to start turning in our stuff now?
Yeah, you can turn it at the beginning of a walkthrough.
Oh, okay.
Haley, do you want to go over that since not everyone was in here?
oh
When
yeah.
you
Do you want
did
me
it
to
the
push
first
this? You want me to push this to GitHub for you guys?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let me do that for y'all. Okay. So that big enough for y'all to see?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, let's just go to our repositories. We're going to initiate a new repository. I'll just call it Tic Tac Toe walkthrough. Okay. So I am in the right folder, but make sure you're in the folder that you want to push. So this is the right folder, and you're just going to get init, and then get add, and that's just selecting everything and adding all the files, and then get init. Oh, I missed the M. My bad, y'all.
I had a question. When you do get add, I usually have to manually type in which files I want to add to it. But if you just add a period, does that add everything you have open in VSC?
Yeah, any changes. So that's just an easier way because that your computer or it automatically just finds any changes and adds them all.
Oh, so I don't have to
But
like
if
keep
you-
manually typing everything.
Yeah, so that's just like an easy way, unless you just want to push one like specific thing. But it's just a way easier way.
Okay.
How do you manually type what you were doing?
I just do get add and then I would type like readme.md or like index.html.
Oh, the file names?
Yeah.
Sounds like a pain.
Okay, and then you just get push or Jermaine, or you can honestly just put get push. Either way is fine. And then refresh your repository and everything, once it finishes, should be there. Okay, there it is. You have your HTML and your CSS style sheet. Is that cool?
I think so. Let me give me a
Okay.
minute.
Yeah, so basically just get a init, make sure you're CD'd into your folder that you want to push to GitHub. Get a init, get add, make your commit message, and then copy the origin of where you want to push it to, and then push it to that origin. And that's it.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to put sharing. If y'all have any more questions, or if y'all want to like play around with the lab, we can, or have any like styling questions, I'll be in the co-working space for a little while. So,
Except she won't because we have a check-in. But yeah.
oh, I won't. That's right. We have a check-in. But well, tomorrow, first thing tomorrow, just let me know. But I appreciate y'all bearing with me on my first walkthrough. So
Everyone
thank y'all.
clap.
Good job, Haley.
Thank y'all very much. I promise that I'll get a little bit quicker, and but I appreciate y'all
Oh, you're
being
fine.
kind.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see y'all in the morning. Yes, I'll
See
see y'all in the
everyone.
morning.
night.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Y'all too.
Get out.
But what if I don't want?
You don't have to.
Wait, did Garrett take roll?
Hey,
No, Garrett didn't say. Oh,
He had time.
What if I told you I forgot?
Did you really
Oh.
forget?
Nah, I'm joking. I took
Okay,
roll.
killing
I
me,
was about to
dude.
say, come on. I think everybody was here though.
I'll make you watch the recording.
Bye.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to delete the Zoom to get me out of here.
All right, let's just end it. Let's just end it.